Welcome to another fun-filled episode of What the Hell Do You Do? I am your host, Scott Shannon, with Neighborhood Loans officially as of today. Today is the 23rd of September now. And I've got my good friend Wayne Buhler here with me from Century 21 JW Morton. And we're going to be just having a fun conversation about real estate. So let's just get into it. All right.
Sounds good.
All right, cool. So let's just cut out the fluff. Wayne, how would you, let's just say, I got some good questions here. We'll just goof around. But what would you say your wife would describe you to someone who's never met you? Like, how would you say your wife would describe you to somebody who's never met you?
Gotcha. I would say I like to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I do have an opinion on everything, but I'm not super headstrong. If we can have a good conversation about it, I'm willing to change my mind in some way, shape, or form. I would say loyal, and then kind of a blend of serious when I need to be serious and fun when I get to be fun.
All right. So you have it right there. I like it. Actually, and from knowing you, I honestly feel the same way. Yep. So I think you nailed it pretty good. The name of the show is What the Hell Do You Do? So let's start off with that. What the hell do you do?
Yeah. So
with Century 21.
Yep. I am the broker owner of Century 21 JW Morton. We are a family owned and operated real estate brokerage in Citrus County, Florida. I have been with the company in some capacity for the last, 17 years, but have had breaks in between. I worked as a cleaner for the office when I was 15, and then went through the ranks, was a receptionist, then did the back office, then was a real estate agent, then managed it, and then January of last year became the broker owner.
Cool. Well, that's one hell of a way to move up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Climb the ladder.
Well, you married the boss's daughter.
I married the boss's daughter.
Right.
You got it.
All right.
Got it.
See, he's a romantic at heart, folks.
There we go.
You know. So I know you were born and raised in Citrus County. How would you say that shaped you? I mean, I love Citrus County. It's just a very laid back, nature kind of driven. Everybody, to me, like, you can go anywhere in that county and you can have a really great conversation with people. Like, people are really chill. Like, I love that about, Citrus. And so tell me what you think and how it shaped you.
Yeah. Definitely small town vibes. I like that more than the big city stuff, but I like to be close enough to still go adventure out. But I think at the end of the day, it shaped me to be, I think, a little bit more personal. Again, when you go to a grocery store, you have a conversation with, the person checking you out. When you order pizza, you might actually know the person on the other side of the phone. So I think at the end of the day, relationships matter in our business. And I think having kind of a small town, everybody kind of knows everybody, just that kind of shaped me into this field and who I am.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like Citrus County, so I live in Marion. I've always lived in Marion since I moved to Florida. And my wife and I love it over there. But the only reason, now it's becoming more modernized, but the only reason, I was like, why don't we move over there and we get a place on the water or whatever? And she's like, I cannot be that far away from Target. Yeah. And,
which we have one now.
I know you big news. Citrus County's got a Target now. So, just her basic necessities of life. She's like, I got too many kids, and there's no way I'm driving that far to get all my stuff.
We've got two Starbucks, two Aldis, Target. We are moving.
Do we have two Aldis, Kat? We do have one in the shore, so technically we have two. Yeah. All right. Cool. That's good. All right. So let's be honest. Are you better at catching bass or closing deals?
Closing deals. 100%.
Right.
Yep.
That's cool.
I spend a lot more time closing deals than I do catching bass. So.
That's awesome. So Wayne, after closing a dream property deal for one of your clients, do you have a favorite celebration or drink or something you do to kind of celebrate the moment with after that, or anything like that? Any kind of rituals?
Yeah. So for sure, I'm a foodie. So to me, it's going to be, whether it's I buy myself some, whether it's a higher end cut of meat or something like that and cook it at home, or we go out to eat, me and my wife. But yeah, definitely a good bite.
I love it. That's great. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to get into a little bit more on the storytelling and some of the oh shit moments that we experience in our jobs. This is always my favorite. The war stories are my favorite. All right. So tell me a little bit about your first ever closing. Did it go perfectly smooth or was it chaos? I mean, I can't even remember my first closing. I mean, it's been 22 years now, but I remember some crazy ones.
Yeah. So I'll throw, this wasn't my very first one because my very first one had a lot of hand holding where I really didn't do too much. I kind of just sat and watched. So I'm going to say like kind of maybe my third deal. Close friends of mine buying a house, and I totally forgot to tell them that they can't come to the closing. Like they needed a cashier's check, and this was before wires were like huge.
Right.
So they showed up to the closing table with a personal check. And the title agent was like, we don't accept personal checks for the balance to close. And this was a financing deal and all that stuff. So I was like, oh no. So luckily I was a quick thinker, and I was like, we're going to time out on the closing. We're going to run over to Winn-Dixie and get a cashier's check.
Right.
And then we're going to bring that back. And this was before they were having holds on cashier's checks for too long. So we were able to make that work when we had our closing. But definitely one of those moments where like, you'll only ever do that once.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of this business is basically you stick your hand in the fire, you get burned, and you remember. Yeah. There's actually a cool psychology thing that I remember. One of the few things I remember from psychology in college was that fear trauma is it's a part of our evolution, because when you really screw up, it gets your adrenaline going to the point where you're like, oh, you always remember that. And that's why some people get stuck in that fear trauma, and they're so scared to do anything wrong that they don't do anything at all. So you kind of have to push yourself. Yep, I made a mistake. Own your mistake. Right.
Yep.
You survive through it, and then you'll remember the next time. It's but
absolutely.
I know we talked briefly earlier about this. You got into Stetson Law. You walked away. I was very similar. I didn't end up. I actually took a year off before I started applying to law schools and decided against it once I got into the career I'm in now. But tell us a little bit about that pivot and what made you really decide that you wanted to go in a different direction.
Yeah. So thought I wanted to be a lawyer, was huge on the show Suits when it actually like originally aired, was like, man, I want to do this. Got into law school, but I wasn't 100% set on that. So took a year deferment. And that's when my father-in-law just absolutely hammered me to go get, and he wasn't my father-in-law at the time, but I was dating his daughter, get my real estate license and just see what that side of the, real estate world is like. Cause I had been an employee at the office, but I never had done the independent contractor side, and just fell in love with that line of work. It just fit better. I am not someone that likes to do the exact same thing day in and day out. That will just, I'll last about 3 months because I have had previous jobs where that was the length of time that I can keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Turn this crank every day for 8 hours.
Does not work. So just discovered, I had a real passion for real estate. I love kind of all the aspects, the money side of it, learning the financing realm, interacting with customers. And then also it's just like your industry, it's more of a service than a sales position. Again, I don't own the product that I'm selling 99% of the time. So I have to sell the service side of it. So I am much more in the service industry than I am in the sales industry. And that fit for my personality and what I like, that fit.
All right. No, we can skip this question if you don't have this, but have you ever had, and I know you've had kind of a good upbringing with the family business and all that, but have you ever had a moment where you're like, man, maybe I should quit? Have you ever had that?
I've had that many times.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like maybe I should find something else. Like I don't,
but I'll share at the end of the day, the way that I look at that, and I'll share just a recent experience. I am currently on a board position at our local real estate board. And it's tough when you are trying to oversee 1,200 members and what they want to do. And then you have a group of 7 people that are trying to come together to please everybody. Right. And I was just at my wit's end and just like, man, is it worth it? And this is a volunteer position. Right. So like I'm volunteering to do this. Right. Not even getting paid. And I was like, man, I just want to quit this. And then I had a couple of experiences where people just said, Wayne, we appreciate that you take the time to go do this. And that was enough for, those thoughts to just wipe out. So I would say if you have the I want to quit thought, be a little bit patient and just, take a step back and let something like that come in, and it might sway your mind, or it might be, hey, it is the right time to quit and move on to bigger and better things. There is that side of it too. I'm not one that says hold on until you hate whatever you're doing so much that you don't want to do anything. Like you need to quit if it gets to a certain point.
I always feel like there's got to be a benefit on both sides, right? You got to feel like you're contributing to, like, so yours isn't really, I wanted to quit real estate, but it might've been part of a group you were in that you wanted to quit. Like, that would drive me nuts too. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's like herding cats, you know?
Yeah.
All right. I kind of know this one already because you've touched on it a little bit earlier already, but who's the person that believed in you and pushed you to do this the most, and how did that experience play out? I know it was your father-in-law, you said,
sure.
right? Yeah.
Right. So for sure, father-in-law in this category of life. I think he probably saw something in me that I didn't even see, because again, I grew up in a very mechanical lifestyle, big into cars, outdoors. When I originally went to college, the lawyer thing wasn't even a thought. It was engineer, and then it was marine biology. And so
everybody wants to be a marine biologist. They go see a dolphin, and they're all like, I want to be a marine biologist.
I want to go be out on the water all the time. I love the water, right? Yeah. So, that was all, certain things that I thought would fit best for me. And then, somehow he was able to see, I think true potential is, in this, I'll call it service industry, helping people, selling real estate, doing that. And so I think, he saw something that I didn't even know was somewhere in there, and pulled it out.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. And Jim's such a good guy too, man. He's a wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely.
So what's the craziest thing you've ever seen at a showing?
All right. Well, we've got, this one happened about 6 months ago. I was showing some clients a house. I went through the house, turned all the lights on, and they just bursted out laughing when they got to the master bedroom closet. And they were like, Wayne, have you been in here? And I was like, no. So I walked into the closet, and there was some built-in drawers, and the third drawer down was still open. And let's just say it had some female entertainment devices.
Okay.
And my clients were elderly, so they just totally got a good joke. And we laughed. We were able to laugh it off and whatnot. But inside, and normally I'm not much of like an awkward dying person, but I was awkwardly dying inside on that one, because that one was one of those times where I didn't really know what to say. So I slowly closed the drawer with my foot, and we just continued on with our showing.
Step up house from our first house here to our bigger house. I rented out my current place for a while because when the market was crashed, and people randomly moved out. They were kind of weird. And my wife's like, hey, we had one of those, it was semi built-in shelving units in the closet that I put in there. And she's like, I want that for the garage so I can have a bunch of storage. And I said, sure, I'll go get it. So I went over there, and I'm starting to take the stuff down with my next door neighbor who's helping me out. And as we start to undo the stuff, it looked like it was all empty, and this big Ziploc bag of stuff falls off of the very top,
right? And
it was full of pleasureful toys of all kinds, and it was like just like because whatever, but it's not yours. Let's just say that much. It's just kind of like ew. Anyway, so yeah, I had that one. The other one I got from podcast I did recently was realtors who, the house was supposed to be vacant. There was only a couple things left in there that the sellers didn't take out. There was like a pull-out couch and a couple other things. And realtor walks in to show the house, and there's a naked man sleeping on the couch.
Oh,
thought he was all alone. It was actually like the brother-in-law of the sellers. And they said, yeah, you can, like he was in town and he just wanted a place to crash. They said, yeah. And they walk in, this dude just like literally sprawled out, just like, sleeping, taking a nap.
Right. I have not had that experience. Yeah. I hope that I never will.
Oh, that's funny. In your earliest part of your real estate career, if you had like a Netflix title for it, what would it be?
Mm. Ignorance on fire.
That's a good one. Yeah. Mine would be fake it till you make it.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Synonymous right
I would
there.
just
Anyway.
act like I knew it all.
Yeah.
You know, be
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Ignorance on
we
fire,
can make
the
that
fake
happen.
it till you make it story.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's the story of so many salespeople.
Right.
Let's be honest. Like, we don't know everything day one.
Yep.
But we got to act like we do.
Right.
At least to an extent.
Yep.
Let's see here. Did you have anything like your first commission, let's say first big commission check? Because sometimes you just sell a piece of land and you get like $500. But did you ever have one where you're like, damn, that's a big one that you had it planned that when you accomplished that goal, you were going to go out and buy something special? Do you ever have anything like that?
Yeah, I would say probably, and this happened 2 years ago now. I had and again, I've got smaller ones, but I'll use the bigger one. I bought kind of a hero dream car of mine. It's a Nissan Stagea. So it's a station wagon, but it has the front end of a Nissan Skyline, which are kind of, I really love station wagons and I love Nissan Skyline. So I got.
Question is, what drives you when the market slows down? I think we all agree the market has slowed. It seems at the moment like we're picking up a little bit of steam because of the rates and stuff like that. I do have a theory on what I think is going to happen when the rates really do drop. I'm not going to opinion on what you're seeing happening on the street level. And then I'd like to tell you a little bit about what my predictions are and see how we mesh up.
Okay.
We could spend a little time talking about this because I think a lot of people want to know.
Right. Right. So I guess, when things are slowing up, what's a good, I'll call it a motivator and inspiration that I use. One is I am a problem solver. So I'm a fixer, that is my inner nature. So I am tackling the whole market downturn as a new problem to solve. Whether that, you can look back at some historical things and how did you get through it? But, I look at it like when things were booming, investors were just sitting idle, like, no, I'm not going to spend that kind of money on that. That's a terrible investment, right?
Right.
And so
you never get the return on.
Right.
Yeah.
You built a relationship with all these people that had money. They just it wasn't timed right for it to spend. So one thing is like, are you still talking to these people or did you throw them to the wayside? If you threw them to the wayside, time to try and rebuild that relationship. If you kept them in the loop, now back into this time where an investor can, again, earn their keep again, get some better deals, get some good ROIs coming. So that's one side of it. And the other thing, big perspective guy, right? So if we look at it with a tight lens, and I know we've talked about this, but yes, compared to, and I'm using Citrus County, compared to the COVID days, we are down. But I use 2019 as a marker as well.
18
and then
19.
Yeah, the whole thing. And I say, we're up. Our average sale price is up, so again, knowing it's really easy to say, yes, last year we did better and this year's a crap year, so on and so forth. But if you pull that magnifying glass back a little bit and say, hey, we're doing pretty darn good compared to 2018, 2019. Again, COVID's the anomaly. Never saw interest rates at that rate. Just all of these wild things converged at the same time this thing to happen. So I'm not banking on that to happen again. So this is more of the norm. That is more of an exception and an anomaly. So that would be.
Yeah, the big thing that I feel like is I look at the median home, like the median income, and 30% of their income. 30% of the median income earners, like 30% should go to housing in a safe environment. Maybe stretch it to 35. But the median income earner right now in our market, they would have to double their income to be able to afford on paper at this moment the median sales price house. So that tells me why the market slowed.
Right.
It's not a matter of less people want to buy. It's just so the first time buyers, they just don't see it as an affordable option. A lot of them, they're waiting on the sidelines for it to become an affordable option, right? And then you've got a lot of people who are what I would call rate locked into their existing home. So they had that extra kid. They really want the bigger house, but then when they price it up, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Or the opposite, where they want to downsize and they look and they go, well, shoot, I still would need a mortgage because I can't, not have a mortgage if I downsize. Now, maybe they could sell and downsize and not have a mortgage. That's a different story. But if they're still going to need a loan, they're not pulling the trigger because it's still about the same price to just stay where they're at.
Right.
And so they're just kind of sitting on the sidelines. What I honestly think is going to happen over the next 12 whatever months, if we see rates fall into that mid 5 range as just a going rate with no discount points, we're actually going to see the prices drop even more.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I think that is because you have right now you have a huge amount of inventory. I think it's one of the highest we've ever had. Right?
Highest, and we've never seen inventory as high in Citrus County as it is right now.
Exactly. So Citrus County, Marion County, the villages, I think we're all in the same boat for the most part, the highest inventory we've ever been at. Now, think about this. 70 million homeowners roughly are locked into a rate below 4%. But if the rates drop down around 5.5%, they might finally go, time is worth more than money. Mm-hmm. And so now they all list. Now, the thing is, though, they're listing and selling. They're one-for-one transactions. That doesn't remove any more listings off the table.
Right.
We need the younger generation, the first-time home buyers, to come in and suck up that, or we need another huge migration to Florida, which I think we're probably not going to see for a little while. I think that played out. Right. So in fact, it's going to put more downward pressure on prices. So if I'm advising a home seller or a home buyer, there's two totally different advices. If I'm a seller, price it right and aggressively lower it based on what the market tells you. Okay, because you want to get rid of it as quick as you can so you can move on. Even if you lose it in your mind a little bit on what you're selling, the buyer, the seller, or the person you're going to buy from, they're probably in their mind losing too. So you're kind of like on the same, you're buying and selling the same time frame. You're kind of coming out even where you're at.
But you get what you want.
Right. But you get what you want. Exactly. Where you want, bigger house, smaller house, whatever. But it's kind of level if you're in roughly the same area. And then for the buyers, and this works out, this has been working tremendously. I just had this work for a veteran of mine. I try to tell them, if you're not stuck on a specific house, like some people are like, that's the house and that's the only one I want. Okay, great. Then you're going to just have to make whatever offer you have to get that house. Sure. But if you're like, I want to be in an area, I want to be in Citrus Springs, I want to be in Beverly Hills or Pine Ridge, or like I want to be on the water over here. Okay, cool. Can you narrow down to 2, 3, 4 homes that you could see yourself living in? Let's go to the first one. Let's make an aggressive offer. And I'll give you the story of my veteran guy, because this guy got a smoking deal. We just closed him last week, Mr. Rodney. This guy's the coolest guy ever. He was the head of all bomb dismantling for the U.S. military. Oh, yeah, he's dealt he was a Navy SEAL. This guy's awesome. I love it. And he's a big bass fisherman. Yeah. So I should take you to meet him. We're going bass fishing. Nice. Anyway, yeah, the guy's awesome. So anyway, what I told him, I said, listen, David, if you're not stuck on just this specific, you just want to be on Lake Rousseau, you want to be on the water. Let's go and make a offer of 3% below list when we find a house, and ask for 6% concessions. In this type of market, that's 9% below list. It's not a great offer, but it's not insulting either, right. And so he went to the first one, made that offer. They didn't take it, or they beat him up back and forth, and then he got a home inspection. It was horrible, backed out of that deal. Then he found this other one, which was way nicer, actually, a better piece of property, better lakefront. And they were asking $415. He offered $410, so not quite 3% below list, but got this 6% concession. So essentially got the house for $387 when you subtract out the fact that, I got him a 5.25% interest rate. All his closing costs were paid for. He actually got his escrow money back at closing. Now, guess what the house appraised for? Now, mind you, got it for $410. Right. It appraised for $465.
Instant equity.
Yeah, instant equity. And the reason why was because the sellers were going through a divorce, and this was like a second home of theirs out on the lake, and they weren't using it, and they just wanted to get rid of it, and boom. And you don't know what the predicament of those sellers are, so don't think that you're being insulting by making an aggressive offer. You never know what you might get. I mean, I got another guy's got a house on Crystal River, DSCR loan investment. He's buying as a VRBO property. Mm-hmm. He got it for $799 and it appraised for 1.17 or 1.12.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's 5,000 square feet on the water, still home.
Right.
Badass.
Right. Yeah.
These deals are out there. So buyers, I mean, don't be hesitant. Don't be shy. Get back in the market. If you're seriously considering buying right now, you should do it, because it's once again, if you're not stuck on that's the house, and it's more like I want a house, well, then go find the person who's willing to give you that deal to make it affordable for you to buy right now.
Right.
Right. I think they're out there.
I agree. And I think a good listing agent will take that offer, even though it might not look originally like a great offer, they can tell their sellers, hey, this is a step in the right direction. It's an offer.
It's an offer.
It's an offer, right?
When we've got none. Yeah.
Yep. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah. You can't start the conversation until there's a conversation.
Yep.
Right. So anyway, but that's kind of, I thought that was worthy of a little extra time because this is so pertinent on our market right now. Let's get into a little bit of money talk.
All
okay.
Right.
What do you think the biggest financial mistake buyers in Citrus County make? If there is one,
I've got a couple.
Skipping an inspection. Or
sure, yeah.
So
that for sure. But I'll say also not doing their homework on a real estate agent and a lender. You know what I mean? I think right now, and this might be a couple years old, but 70% of home buyers use the first agent they meet. They don't use the most qualified. They don't use the one that knows that market area the best. They use the first one that they meet. And a lot of times that's not a great success rate because it might not be a good fit. They might not have the local knowledge. And then again, with lenders, I think some people chase an interest rate without looking at the full picture, whether there's other fees, all these other things. So again, financially, you say, oh, I got this great interest rate, but you've got such a high closing cost amount that your interest rate doesn't actually upfront doesn't matter right now because you're overpaying on the closing cost thing. So again, I think knowing who you're getting involved with, doing a little research is huge. And I think some people don't understand how big of a difference that can make.
Yeah. And I actually think too, having a realtor, like, look, I need what people like Wayne, and Wayne needs people like me. Right. And so when we know each other and we work well together, it makes your life easier because there's that relationship. We know how each other's like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the other part too is right now, because of that thing we talked about just a second ago, the negotiation, there's so much more to negotiate over now than there was in 2020. In 2020, like here's the price, take it or leave it, and you're getting nothing.
Pay more than the price.
Yeah, pay more than the price. Now it's like the art of negotiation is, really set yourself apart as an agent and as a lender. Like what I just taught you, I taught that client. The agent didn't even know. I just said, she was a newer agent. I said, follow my lead. I promise. She's like, you don't think they're going to be, I said, promise you, just make the offer. And boom, it worked. Right. And so, it's coaching and it's awesome. I love that stuff right now. What do buyers, what should they really plan for and forget, such as maybe like taxes, repairs, insurance, maintenance, things like that? What do you see as being the biggest thing people should remember to look out for?
Right. So I'll break this up in pre-ownership and then post-ownership. So right now we're seeing a lot of buyers come in that they want the house, they love the house, but they might not realize it is an as-is contract with a right to inspect. So that doesn't mean that you get to have the seller has to fix everything. Now, again, we try and negotiate. Here's a negotiating point, but remember that you have to pay for the inspections. And again, you want the inspection. So have that budget ready already in mind and make sure you understand if that deal goes south, that is money lost because your escrow, yes, you can get back, but that's not going to, you've already spent that or gave out that money. That's not the inspection thing. So during that contract period, just have an understanding that there is an investment to basically get to the closing table, but it is very worthwhile to have those things done. You just, again, don't forget about it. And then after closing, I think one of the massive ones that people, especially first-time home buyers or buyers moving from out of state to in-state don't realize is how our taxes work. Again, a lot of times
the revision of the homestead.
Correct. We're selling a homesteaded property where if that person owned it for 10, 15, 20 years.
My house is a perfect example.
The taxes are going to be very low. Once you sell and that new buyer, they get to reassess it like a blank slate.
Right.
So again, they were capped on how much they could increase the assessment for per homestead laws. Once you sell that blank, that's clean slate, and you could have a significant increase in taxes. So again, to me, this falls back on the agent to make sure the agent is educating. And again, it goes back to choosing a good agent to help with that thing. But that is, and again, this sometimes you guys talk about it and go over it, but sometimes it doesn't click until like the closing table and they're looking at the settlement statement and saying, my taxes are how much? Like, this should be a conversation had up front, so it is not a giant issue.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had people back out days before the closing because when they got the reassessment, they're like, oh my God, I can't do this. Yeah, that's awesome advice. Let's see here. What tricks do buyers fall for when they're looking for a good deal? Like, you think there's any tricks that like they're might fall for marketing ploys? Mine would be the temporary buy downs. I'm not a proponent of temporary buy downs. I think it's a bait and switch to me. But what you have anything on your side?
Well, I'll flip it on my side. It's the concession thing. So again, like, using a random price, it's $250,000, and we'll offer the $7,000 in concession. Well, a lot of times, if you look at the history, you're seeing the house was listed at 240 before, and now they're upping the price to offset. Like, you need to be below because the market's telling us it's not worth this.
That's right.
So, like, again, don't fall for we're offering a concession. Make sure you're looking at the history of the pricing, because at the end of the day, the lower price is going to be where it needs to be anyway. So, we're seeing some of those tactics. And again, they're pretty easy to spot. You just have to make sure you look for them.
Yeah. And in my opinion too, the concession, if you're not getting at least 3% concessions, it doesn't move the needle enough to make it worth offering. It's just like, okay, I saved a little bit of money in closing costs,
And your tactic that you talked about earlier, you're getting 3% off of the purchase price plus the 6% concession, right? These people are not getting anything off the purchase. They're paying list price when it was already increased to offset the concession. You're not winning there.
Right. No, you're not winning there.
It's a bait and switch in all intents and purposes.
It is. Absolutely. How, like, if you're on the seller side of things and you get a low ball offer, like really low, like more than what we were just talking about, how do you walk through with a seller? Because like I personally right now, I don't think you just walk away from it and just turn them down. Oh, that's insulting. I would never sell for that. Like, we'll make a counter. Right. So like, how would you approach that?
Yeah. So I'll dive in a little bit deeper too, depending on who that buyer is. So I've got one listing right now, and actually we just got it under contract. So happy with that. But it was a 1961 built home that needed some updating.
Okay.
So again, the general buyer pool, and I've already coached my sellers on this, but the general buyer pool is going to be investors. And investors will never pay market price. But what do we have it listed at? We have it listed at market price. So I'm already kind of putting the bug in the ear. Hey, we're going to get some of these quote unquote lowball offers. That's the nature of the beast. But what we also look at is some of these investors are asking for certain kinds of terms. Some of them are just outright, hey, this is what I'm willing to pay, but they're looking for terms and whatnot. So I always spin the angle too. It's either terms or price. You don't get both. Right. So coaching the seller on that. And then like you said too, they started here. Let's go ahead and start with our counter, see where we can negotiate this out. And again, depending on, sometimes I'll even offer a term concept. And again, on this deal, my sellers are not willing to do like an owner financing thing and whatnot, but like an investor will sometimes jump at an owner financing deal because again, they don't have to liquidate all their funds. So again, I can say, well, hey, we're willing to do some terms on this deal, but you got to come up to your price. You got to come up to our price, and we're willing to offer you some terms on it. So again, it's just kind of analyzing that back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard one strategy at a class I was teaching not that long ago as a high-end realtor down in the Villages. And this kind of applies in the same boat. Talking about keeping sellers. We've got these things called as-is contracts, right? But they're never really as-is, because if during that inspection phase they find stuff wrong, most of the time they're going to come back and say, hey, I want you to fix this stuff, or they want a discount on the price or a concession, right? And I thought this was kind of unique. He does this on his higher end properties. So where he's at, it's about 400 and above. He says, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, before we even list it, he's big enough where he's got a relationship with an inspector, an HVAC guy, a roofer, and all that. And because he refers so much business to them every year, they will come out and do a free inspection on their the home. On the home. Okay. And if anything, so he gets all those inspection reports, and if anything at all is wrong, he's got the sellers agreeing to fix it. So if the AC is like getting toward the end of its life, they're replacing the AC. If the roof needs to get done, we're talking higher end clients who have the money to do this stuff. And the reason they do that, then when they take an offer, they give them the stuff and they say, now listen, we did all this. Here's all these inspections. Here's everything we just did. Okay. So whatever your escrow is, it's got to be at least, he said, minimum's 10 grand. It's got to hurt,
Right.
and it's non-refundable.
Yeah.
So it's an as-is contract. You have the right to inspect, but you're giving up $10,000.
Right.
I thought that was really interesting.
I mean,
at a minimum, some of them, he said, he's taken ones up to $40,000 and $50,000
right.
in non-refundable escrow.
You want a serious buyer? That's how you find a serious buyer.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. And they price it aggressively and do all the things you need to get the house sold. But at the same point, I mean, really, they're leaving them with no reason. Like, what are you going to back out of? Like, you know, if you find something that they didn't find, we're happy to fix that too, essentially. But anyway, so I thought that was kind of a cool perspective.
Very cool tactic.
I don't think everybody could do that, though. I think you have to have a little.
You got to have the relationships, and you got to have the right mindset to pull that one out.
Let's see here. Have you ever had to convince somebody not to buy a house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just not that long ago, had to go through the process, and again, it was not yet. You know what I mean? Like, timing just wasn't right. This person had ultimately saved up just enough money to make it work on the financing side,
just to get in the door.
Right. But ultimately, when we started adding insurance and then just your regular living expenses, it tipped the scales to a point where they would be in over their head. And so basically we kind of did our own little in-house plan to say, hey, look, this is what you're earning, you know, per week. This is your expenses. You just need a few changes here to get you over that hump that will then ultimately help you out. And I think with that, the honesty and transparency kept that customer with us, where they totally could have went to the next real estate agent. Absolutely, they would have sold them the house. But at the end of the day, it was not in their best financial interest yet. And they are currently almost there. They are getting really close.
Yeah. The flip side on the financing side for me is ones where, and you know this, I don't know if the general audience knows it, but your credit score obviously affects what kind of interest rates you get. All right. And so technically on an FHA loan, you can almost go down to like a 540 credit score, but the pricing is horrendous.
Right.
Like it's awful. And you got to put more money down. There's all these extra things. And so, like I have clients come along, you know, they maybe a 580, right, or a 590, which is not good. Like that'd be like a C minus or a D plus kind of credit score. Okay. And I can squeeze them in to getting a loan. And there's a lot of lenders, because they just care about the transaction. They're like, oh, look, I made this work. It's like, yeah, but did you do the right thing?
Right.
Like, because lots of times with 3 to 6 months worth of work, and let's be honest, the market's still kind of going down. Like, you're not losing out on a potential, like, you know, necessarily. To 3 to 6 months of work on your credit, a little bit more savings, and now it changes your whole financial outlook, and what you qualify for is so much more affordable. You know, it can decrease their overall expense by 20%. And all they had to do is just take the time, take the instruction, do the right thing. When unfortunately there's a lot of bad players out there who will just be like, yeah, you're approved, go find a house. And because they just want to close another transaction, even though it's really not in that person's best interest. Like a little bit of work and they're golden, you know? So I hate seeing that when people do that, get stretched to the end. And then what happens? Their car breaks down. They lose their house because they can't make the payment. It's like, it's horrible. Do emotions sabotage more deals than financing?
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, one of probably a big coaching point that I give to my agents is management of expectations and emotions. So from a simple, like we already talked about, when you get that quote unquote lowball offer, if I'm the listing agent and I go into you're my seller, and I go, well, we got a lowball offer, and that's how I'm starting the deal. Again, I'm already setting the emotions. And instead of, I can go in and say, guess what? We got our first offer. We're, you know, step in the right direction. Again, I can choose which way I want to present that to manage that emotion. And I think that is a huge, huge tool that good agents have in their tool belt. And I think a lot of agents need to work on.
Yeah. I mean, especially now, you know, change. So many agents got into the industry during that boom period, and they're still kind of plugging away, but they're not doing as much business as they were, and they're still stuck with this mentality. If they would just adjust, you know, to the changing market, and like you just said, come at it from a fresh, happy. We're making stuff happen per perspective. I mean, that's what makes things happen. You know, I hate it.
And agent to
You're
agent.
sabotaging your own deal.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Agent to agent. This is not a you versus me, listing agent versus buyer's agent concept. You have a buyer that wants to buy, a seller that wants to sell. Make that work.
Right.
Make that work.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We've touched on some of this, but I'll ask us, what's your take on pricing psychology in today's market? Like what's your strategy, how you price a listing, where you're going to adjust it, when you're going to adjust it, why you're going to adjust it. Like what's your thought process on that?
So I'll go over a strategy I used this morning, actually at an appointment, where our market analysis came in lower than the seller wanted, which right now is pretty typical, right?
Surprise. Yeah.
But you know, we weren't far off. So again, this is a tactic that I use when we're within a realm that I find acceptable. Is I said, you know what? Let's survey my 84 agents on this price that you want before we list it, before we put it on market, before it gets a days on market counter, and then people think what's wrong with it, and we lose the shiny new toy concept.
Right.
I'm going to have 84 agents, anybody that's willing to participate, tell me what they feel about this price point. If they saw it, what would they get? And again, I've used that tactic plenty of times where it's not just me, it's a whole group of people in this industry that say, hey, this number is where it should be, kind of thing. And so again, we can kind of play with that and use that as a tactic. But as pricing in a whole right now, we are seeing pricing trend downward. And again,
which is good. It's going to open things up.
Opens things
up. Might
up.
suck for a seller if they bought in the last 2 years at a higher price.
Yeah.
That stinks, but that's just, you know, you could have bought Amazon at 300, now it's trading at 250. If you need the money, you're going to have to take the loss.
You're going to take it. Right. So to me, pricing right now is also very important that you get it right up front. And if you don't get it right up front, you talked about like my time frame of reductions. I think your first price reduction right now should probably happen between 14 and 21 days on market, with a little asterisk of depending on the activity it's getting. If you're getting a lot of showings, people are walking through the door, I'm less, and it might not be as big of a price reduction, or we hold off a little bit. But if I'm getting all the views and clicks online and nobody is calling me, I know they're seeing that price and moving on to the next one without talking to me. So again, really analyze your stats is another huge key.
You could have the best marketing on the planet in this type of market, and all that matters is the price. If there's a house down the street that's offering more house for less money, that's going to sell before yours. It's that simple. You know, I mean, I think you were part of were you at the class I did that, the 853 strategy? So I'll repeat that one. This one might be good for people to hear too.
Jim loves that strategy, by the way.
I know. It's my favorite one. So, you know, when you list a house you're listing the house and they do a CMA. A CMA is based on what? History or the future? It's based on what? History, right? If we all agree that the market's declining slightly right now, what does the future hold for home prices? Lower or higher prices? Lower, correct? So not only do you have to list it for what the market tells you based on the history, but then you have to adjust based on the fact that the future holds lower prices. So what my good friend does is he's a monster realtor out in, where is he? He's in Austin, Texas. He's huge. And what he does is he does an 853 strategy. And essentially what happens is he says, if we have tons of showings, but no offers in the first 2 weeks, he has a standing appointment every 2 weeks after he lists the house. If we have a ton of showings, but no offers, we're going to lower the price by 2 to 3%. All right. If we have just, you know, a scattering of showings, but not a great number, we're going to lower it by 5 to 6%. And if we have crickets, meaning no one's showing the house, maybe one in that 2 week time frame, there's very little internet activity, et cetera, then we got to take a big bite off the apple and we got 8%. He says almost every time he does that, following that smart market strategy, that within like all his listings, like 95% of them that follow the strategy sell within 60 days. Because he's just boom, boom, boom. He does what the market's telling him. Because lots of times, just think about it. You had a ton of showings, but no offers. Well, a lot of people saw it, so they probably have it saved in their little favorites. And then you lower it by that 3%.
Time to jump on it.
And all of a sudden, now all these people, like 3 or 4 of them, maybe they jump in and go, oh, now I'll make an offer. And it just took that little nudge, you know? And so, because until you have an offer, your house is worth $0. I hate to tell you, but that's the case. You know, until you have an offer, your house is worth nothing because you have to have a willing buyer to sell your home. So anyway, but you agree with that? Am I crazy?
100%.
All right, cool, man.
Yep.
Good stuff. So let's talk about a little bit about your team over at Century 21. Let us know. So, like, how do you stay grounded while you're hustling out there in the competitive market? Is there anybody in your office who's kind of like your rock that keeps you moving forward?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can name a few, but Lawanda Watt, actually, just funny story, side note, I called her up today to check on her mental health because I saw she was driving a loaner car from the dealership, and she just went through having a loaner car for like 2 months because they were fixing things on her car. So I was like,
she just bought that new Navigator.
Yeah. But it was, so I called her. I was like, Lawanda, what happened? She's like, all good. It's just getting a little, blemish on the grill fixed back up. It's not. So I'm like, okay, all right, so we're good. But so like we are actually each other's rock back and forth. I've got Ryan Hazelton, who is the machine of consistency. He beats me into the office every morning. He's making his cold calls. He's doing his thing. So it's, again, that consistency to me is ultimately the word I would use. That would say that's the grounding rock, is when I'm in a familiar place, when I'm in that place of comfort, I can then also will myself into the uncomfortable, but I know I'm in my good place.
Nice. I love it. Just want a camera check for me real quick, Kat. It's still recording. Oh, sweet. All right, good. All right, cool. You want to describe your ideal client, or one that tests your patience, or a little bit of both?
I'll do a little bit of both. So I will say sometimes the most difficult clients are former realtors.
or like my world. I was a lender. I'm like, before the '08 crash, you have no idea how this industry works anymore.
So if you are a former realtor, I am okay with you giving me your opinion. I will never not, be okay with that. But you also have to understand that you have hired me in some capacity to be your realtor.
Right.
So let me do my job as well. And then we can discuss, we can hash out whatever needs to be done. But if you don't let me do my job, because again, you are using your past experiences that happened whenever decades ago, you're just making it harder for everybody. Me, yourself, the seller, the buyer, whoever, on the other side of the table. It just makes it more difficult. So those are the ones, again, I would say the difficult. Ideal customer, I think, is ultimately someone, I'll say, I typically enjoy the curious customer. So the one that's willing to ask the questions. I am a coach, a teacher at heart as well. So again, I like to educate people. So again, the one that is engaged in learning the process and making sure that they're asking the right questions and whatnot, that is ultimately my ideal customer. I like working with those.
For me, it would be, because on the lending side of stuff, it's just a system, right? And a process. It's the ones who understand, hey, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just follow along. Let me grab you by the hand. Let my team grab you by the hand, and we're going to walk you through this and make your life easy. But then they just, the ones who would be the opposite of that are the ones who just fight us every step of the way. Why do I need to do that? Why should I have to do that? And they just get so frustrated. Like we're just asking to pad our paper with extra paperwork, pad my pillow for the night. It's a little too flat. I need some more, like absolutely not. Like these things are all required. We've got to get them to get you through to the end of to the closing table. The clients who have trust and just listen and follow, oh my God, like I can close you in a week,
Right.
The ones who just fight and claw and all the other stuff, most of the time they say thank you at the end, which is the crazy part. Right. But it's like, man, it didn't have to be that way. It really didn't. So let's see here. When do you feel like you're most like flowing at work? Like when are you like in your happy space where everything's just cooking?
Yeah. Probably right now I would say Wednesdays at 9 a.m. when I'm doing my training sessions and whatnot. Last week we went over from start to finish the as-is contract. It was 2.5 hours, and normally I don't ever want to do a class that's long. That long. That is a long time. Yeah. But I will tell you, everybody got up and thanked me because there's little bits of that contract that you might forget about that you can then utilize, whether you're negotiating, whether you're trying to prove a point where like the seller does need to keep the electricity on for inspections, whatever the scenario may be. So right now, I'd say definitely Wednesdays at 9 a.m. when I'm doing my coaching.
That's good. Yeah, that's for me. It's when I'm in my classes, when I'm teaching. Like you see me, like I'm just on point. I love that stuff. Like it's just my favorite. And then just lots of questions. I want to throw all the questions at me, challenge me, fight me. I love it. So is there anything you use? I know mine. Is there anything you use that can help gain trust quickly that people need to hear? This is great for any sales thing. How do you gain trust quickly?
I guess I'll use a recent scenario. Ultimately is kind of relatability, but for me, it always is in like someone's garage. So like when I go to someone's house to look at it, to preview it for, market analysis, I am just, again, I'm a mechanic at heart, and do all that. So like I always look in their garage, whether they have just a toolbox full of tools, whether they don't have anything, like, because again, you can also use your differences to talk about a situation in the story. So again, I walk into a garage and I see a 1970 Chevy Camaro. I'm going to ask, is that a true 350? Is it all original? Have you, what have you done to it? I kind of get that conversation. If I see nothing, no tools, no nothing, then I just ask like, man, what are you doing here? Like, what's your thing in here? Like, what's the point of the garage? And then they can come up and tell me some crazy story. And again, so it's just basically being able to, whether it's relate with like, or be able to bridge the gap with things that are completely not alike, is my, my big trust builder.
That's cool. Yeah, for me, we don't get to meet the clients face to face that much anymore in the industry. Like everybody does everything over the phone and internet. So I just try to like get really deep on what their goals are as quick as I can, and then have the fastest, most understandable answer that I could tell a 5-year-old and they could understand what I'm trying to explain to them. That's I tell my guys, don't overword stuff, man. Like, and don't give enough information that they can make a decision, but don't kill them with all the industry nonsense. Like you don't need to get too deep on. They don't even care. Just like, what are their goals? Okay, here's 2 or 3 plans to accomplish those goals. Which one do you think is best? And it's just like, oh, this is a breath of fresh air, because half the time you talk to this lender world and they want to start by just going right into a loan application. Now take a minute and just make sure. Sometimes we're not even the right fit for them. I might have to send them across the street to my buddy over at the credit union because they got a product that's better than mine. And I'll do that. First assessing their situation, I think, is super critical. And then repeating back to them what they just mirroring. What did I just hear? Okay, this is what I hear. Yes, that's exactly right. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to go this direction.
And I would say, like, even our 2 explanations there are also kind of a yin and a yang that fit really good in a real estate transaction, where I'm getting getting a relationship built, and then you're there into like, let's figure out how to make that deal done, right? So like I've done, I call it like the first date, and I've kind of introduced, and we've gotten the small talk out of the way and all that stuff, and then you come in and say, all right, this is the job that we are here to get done. Let's see how we can make that happen. Right? Let's figure it out and whatnot. So you're on date trust. 2, date 3. So we're doing date 1 and you're into date 2.
Exactly. Yep. I hear you. Is there anything professionally right now that's keeping you up at night? That, like, I know there's always stuff in my head, like, I got to do this, I got to do that, like, because I don't want to forget things. But that's why I hired my good friend Kat over here. She keeps me on track. But do you have a cat that keeps you on track?
Yes.
Everyone needs a cat.
I've got multiple. I also have a mother and father-in-law that still work at the office. So again, they have not just obviously the office, but just my financial future and making sure that I'm going to survive and be able to take care of my daughter and my new soon-to-be daughter making entry into this world on Thanksgiving Day.
That's the due date?
Yep, that's the due date.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be. We're not hosting Thanksgiving.
At the hospital, at the cafeteria?
Right. Yeah. So, just at the end of the day, I think there's both people, and then there's both like the systems and the consistencies that help, kind of do that. But yeah, there's definitely individuals that help every day. Yep.
That's great. So to wrap up, I kind of like to do a couple things. Let's do some community spotlights. I like to give shout outs to local businesses and stuff. So you grew up there. Is there any businesses or anything that deserves some attention that like make Citrus County feel like home to you? Like this is your spot, and if that went away, it would break your heart. So
I'll branch it up into a couple different things.
Okay.
Oscar Pens. buddy Jason. He is an amazing chef, and kind of unconventional route in the world of what I'll call Citrus County fine dining, but just an amazing restaurant.
Oscar Penn's. I've never even heard of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Have you ever heard of it?
It is. If you're downtown Inverness, you go down past the courthouse, or if you're heading to the lake, it's there on the left-hand side by the train station and the new depot, and on the plate, like
I'll
all
have
that.
to go over there.
Yeah, yeah. So
that's
shout
a date
out
night with my wife. I'll have to drive over there.
Oscar Penn's is
Write
great.
that down for me. All right.
He races at Citrus County Speedway. He's sponsoring kids and the youth.
Total gearhead.
So, yep, he's a gearhead. So I'll throw Richie's Garage out there as well. So those are kind of my two shout outs right now.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, that's really great. And there's all the good seafood too. You get all the fresh seafood over there. So is there anything that the outsiders who maybe don't understand about Citrus County? This is a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. Yeah. So on one face, I would say there's more that meets the eye in a small town like Citrus County. Again, like the general thought, which I know we have a Target now, but was like, man, there's just nothing there, right? Like there's not that. Well, there's a lot of great local, I mean, again, I'm naming Oscar Penn. There's so much local stuff that you can get involved into that can sometimes be a really awesome breath of fresh air.
Oh yeah.
So you're
I
leaving,
prefer the local to the chain stuff every day of the week. It's the staples that you might not have.
Bring,
some, you don't have a Costco or something.
Yeah, exactly. So
I have to take a little trip.
Right. Give the local stuff a chance before you just write it off because you've never heard of it or it's not a chain thing.
Right.
So I would say have that open mind, and then also like push yourself like in the natural wonders outside. So if you've never been on an airboat and you might just hear that airboats are noisy and they ruin the environment and whatnot, go on an airboat tour in Citrus County. I think it will drastically change your mind because of what you get to see. We're talking about parts of Florida that you cannot access by anything else. Right. And so you get to see nature, what Florida used to be like.
What God intended, exactly, so to speak. Yep. Not just the waterways you can get down with a John boat.
Not a beach, not a palm tree. We're talking about some serious old Florida.
Yep. Some of these questions and editors, I'm going to read through them. I'm just going to see how staying local helped you build the trust in business. I mean, I think that's a good one. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but how would staying local help with your trust in business?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it also creates local relationships. And again, so when you need a lender recommendation, when you need an inspector recommendation, you're not just pulling out a phone book or Google searching it. You literally say, Scott was able to help me get this deal done just last week, and we had this issue. He found the solution. Again, you can apply the real world everyday aspect to it. And again, the longer you ingrain yourself into that community, the more of those you will have.
Well, and I'll just be honest, from my experience, the best realtors, period, bar none, have the most connections. Because they all, let's be honest, folks, realtors, all they do, you're hiring them to they write the contract. Yeah, they help you find the house. But really what they do is find all your, fix all your issues, or they know who to go to. And you might be coming from outside the state. You've never been in, I'm moving here and I don't know anybody. That's what you're paying for, is that connection, that book of connections. Yeah, absolutely. The bigger the book of referral partners that a realtor has, trust me, is the more they're established. That's really the easiest way to put it. Any awesome local events or traditions that you love that you want to shout out to? I know I like the Stone Crab Fest. That one's a good one.
Stone Crab Fest. I recently started sponsoring the Harley Davidson festival that they actually moved from Brooksville into Citrus County, and they do it at Whispering Pines Park. And we actually got to see It's one of 2 traveling motorcycle shows where they do the little wooden loop thing and they go round and around and they go up and over and they grab the money out of your hand.
That's wild.
That came to Citrus County as well. So I thought that was something pretty neat that I'd never experienced before.
That's cool. All right. One more for you. This is kind of a weird one. What's your dream listing? Not about the price or what you can earn off of it, but as far as like location and vibe, like what's your dream?
Yeah.
Either listing or even if you want to own it for yourself.
Yeah. So I would say something that I think is really cool is that Citrus County has a good bit of old quarry properties. So we've got land that has been mined and it's got cliffs and valleys, and some of them have hit natural springs, and so there's literally like ponds with crystal clear water on them and whatnot. So like, and then old railways, and you find old railway ties and things like that. So I just love finding a property that has some of these out there.
I've got
things.
like Black Diamond, but I've never seen something like this. Is someone's individually owned property that has the quarry in it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's one actually not far from my house that the guy bought, and it was an old limestone pit, and there's literally like a 40-foot cliff behind his house. In Florida. Like it's like it doesn't look like it belongs in Florida. That's
absolutely
for sure.
Right. Like you're like, there's a cliff here. I thought Florida was flat.
Yep. Yeah, my wife and I had little kids would never have allowed me to buy it. Now my kids would be jumping off it every day just for fun. All right, so let's see here. Just trying to see how far we want to get in. How far into this cat are we time-wise? I'm going to just review these with you. So here's the next couple topics. We can do, what do they don't teach you? I think we covered a lot of stuff.
We're at an hour and 2.
Yeah.
So how much time do you
media breakdown, we could touch on anything in the media that you think, like, I know what I could talk about on that. Like,
I would say this we kind of covered already.
I agree
with
with
different
you.
tactics. I don't think we need that. So media
breakdown. This kind of like we could just talk about maybe like current.
A couple of
for me it's like the
and
news
then,
is.
I don't know. You say you were bringing up some Zillow stuff.
Oh,
if you haven't talked about that, if you want to bring that up,
the Zillow versus the Compass giant thing, and then we could just do the fun little rapid fire. Okay. So, all right. Next topic. This one's near and dear to my heart because every day I turn on the news and I listen to, and I'll just give you my own right out of the gate. The Federal Reserve lowered the interest rates by 1/4 point, and then every freaking realtor and all my clients text me and go, "How much lower are the rates now?" It is not a direct correlation. The Federal Reserve rate is the 1-day overnight interest rates, the short-term rate. And so while mortgages are long-term rates. And so there is no direct correlation necessarily. In fact, this last thing that happened was that the market rejected only the 1/4 point move. And actually the rates went slightly up after the rates went quote unquote down.
Right.
So the mortgage rates actually ticked up, not much. It was almost barely noticeable to the consumer, but it was on my sheet. I could see pricing slightly got worse after the last rate cut.
Right.
And because of there's a million other market factors. There's, how many people want to buy mortgage-backed securities? How many people want to buy long-term American trust? And honestly, there's some concern about the dollar worldwide. A lot of other countries are trying to get rid of their dollars and buying yen or the pound or the euros.
Right.
And so anyway, but that drives me crazy. So that's the number one thing I would say I hate about the media is the general population. And maybe it's because it takes a lot to explain that, right? It's easier to just go, oh, they're going to drop rates. Okay. But it doesn't necessarily affect mortgage rates.
Right.
And it might affect your credit card or car loan more than it affects a mortgage rate. But
Right.
what would yours be on the real estate side of things?
Yeah, kind of piggybacking in that concept is looking at the national housing market because housing markets are hyper specific. I mean, I can go in Citrus County and I can pinpoint and tell you this community is oversaturated and it's going to take way longer. But if you pulled that house out and you put it over here into this community, it'd be worth $100,000 more because this community has nothing for sale and it's super desirable. So when we look at this, like the national housing market, it's like, I can't apply that. I can say that's an average, but like it's basically trying to compare yourself to the population of the world. It doesn't work. So our real estate markets are hypersensitive to the specific areas in our community, like in our communities, our county, things like that.
Right.
So even that the Florida market is different than the Citrus County market. There might be similar trends in pricing or inventory,
Yeah.
but again,
You look like Naples is down like 20% year over year.
Right.
Okay, we're down like 6.
Yeah. So again, I can't take the Florida's housing market and just say that's what Citrus County.
You throw condos in the mix. Oh my God.
Yeah. Right.
Down south, condos are getting crushed.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, 100%. It's like you said, it's very specific to not just some neighborhoods are hot, some are not. I would say right now, actually, lower priced areas are the ones getting beat up because the people who want to buy and live in there still don't view them as affordable. I think, people say, oh, the rates are too high. No, the rates aren't too high. The prices are too high. It really is true. A 7% rate, even though we're a little bit below that now, but a 7% rate is still below the 40-year average by quite a bit.
Right.
40-year average is like 9%. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And this is where we kind of inverse in our markets where you can look at the national interest rate and say, look, we're below that 40-year threshold, right? But when you turn around and you say that in the term of real estate, we are higher or belower than the 40-year real estate market, it doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't mean anything.
It literally doesn't apply.
Nope.
So that's where we have some differences in our market. And you need to know that us is focused where you can use that 40-year thing and say, guys, it's not a bad interest rate right now. It's bad if you just zoomed into the last 5 years.
Yeah. And I actually happened, it was just so funny. I was flipping through and Jerome Powell's thing came up, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. And they were grilling him about, you're killing the housing industry because of the interest rates. And he said, no. He said, and I actually agree with him on this. No, what killed the housing industry was 2% rates for too long, too little inventory, and the home prices more than doubling in 4 years. That's what killed the housing industry. And now he's like, us keeping the rates where they're at is fair, and it'll bring homes prices back in line. And it's doing it.
It's got to recorrect.
Yeah, it's correcting. Yep, it is. Because it's just, let's say that all of a sudden the rates went down and the prices go back up. We're just going to be in the same bubble again, just 5 years down the road.
Correct.
Because people's incomes aren't going up.
And I think if that happens too many times, the drops get bigger.
Oh yeah.
Right. Again, you can't keep doing this without that then at some point happening.
I mean, after 08, we have a really nice line curve.
Correct.
Just a nice 3 to 5% appreciation. Homes, buyers, and sellers, took about 3 to 4 months to sell. It was totally reasonable. And what COVID was, great. We all made a bunch of money, but it was nuts. It was just, it was too
volatile. It
was too
very
crazy.
Volatile.
Anything else you think in the media that we should talk about that they need to shut up or change their tune?
I would say, again, not being lens so hyper, and again, piecemealing things. The media loves to just nitpick certain little aspects without saying, well, give me the full context.
Right.
Give me the big picture stuff when you're saying that. So again, they say interest rate increase of 1/4. Well, that's at the federal level, like you're saying, that doesn't actually change your or my interest rate when we go buy that. So give me the full picture. Don't nitpick that little thing. So I guess I'm saying the same thing you said, just at a broader level.
Yeah. And the only time, if you look back in history, the only time that we've seen major rate drops in the lending world was when there was a major catastrophe. We can go back in time. We had COVID, which was the biggest drop ever. Before that, it was 08 crash. Before that, it was 9/11. Before that, it was the dot-com bubble. Before that, it was the 1984 savings and loan crash. And before that was the 1979 oil embargo. And that's the only time the rates really went down. And then they're always followed by a high hike afterward. And then everything gets out of whack, and then it goes back into alignment, and we'll get 10 years of nice steady growth again.
And then it goes crazy.
So hey guys, just hopefully we're back in the steady growth phase, but we don't know. We got to go down a little more first. All right. So I got some fun rapid fire questions for you. These are just one word, quick stuff. All right. Just to finish off our little show for today. So beach house or a lake cabin? Beach house or a lake cabin?
Lake cabin.
Lake. I'm with you, bro. That's me all day.
The sand.
I like the mountains. Give me a place up in Georgia or something. Bratwurst or barbecue?
Bratwurst for me.
Bratwurst.
Interesting. I'm going bratwurst.
Give me some brisket any day. I love that. Morning showings or late night negotiations?
Morning showings.
I'm with you on that. When I'm done, I'm done. I don't want to be on the phone at 10 o'clock at night.
I agree.
Sometimes though, I get on the phone with a client. It's like I've got a couple of glasses of wine in me, and like we just have the best conversation ever. And my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm talking to a client, and like we're just bullshit."
Yeah.
You know,
not talking about interest rates.
No, we're not. Well, sometimes we start with business, and like my buddy David, like my client there, like, and then we just tell me all these stories about how he went down into Nazi submarines 300 feet underwater, dismantle bombs that they found there like 20 years ago. Yeah, he's a wild dude, man. I love this guy.
That I want to have a conversation.
You got to meet him, dude. He's so cool. Yep. One thing you always forget at a showing. You're like, shit, I forgot it.
Probably like light switches and fan switches. Sometimes I hit the fan and then I don't catch that it turned on. And so I'm like, did I turn that fan off? Because lights I'm pretty good about, but the fans are the ones that get me.
People get pretty anal about that.
It depends.
Yeah.
Some do, some don't.
You wasted my power.
Yep. You're blowing my air.
Is there any kind of real estate icks that you have just like, ugh, like if you go into a piece of real estate and it's just anything just gross you out?
Well, so I'm not going to say gross me out, but it's a personal pet peeve. And it's when people change their light bulbs, like they only change one and they change the temperature. So the house has white lighting and then they unscrew this one bulb and they put yellow lighting in. And I'm like, no, why did you do that?
My wife yells at me all the time. And most of the time it's because like a light goes dead and I just go to the ones I have and they don't happen to match. And I go and I look and they don't, and I'm just like, I don't want to not have a light there, but then I forget for a week or a month or whatever. My wife's like, are you ever going to change it?
So I recently discovered I had that same issue and my wife pointed it out to me though. She's like, Wayne, these are all the light bulbs that you pulled out because you don't like the temperature. Throw them away.
Oh, just toss them.
Throw them away.
Right.
Or give them to somebody else. But stop going back and, I got a light bulb here. Well, it's the wrong temperature. So
it's true.
Get rid of them.
Yeah. Or move them all to one room that you're okay with that one and then move those ones over.
The room I don't go in.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any favorite hidden fishing spots that you know of?
Can't tell. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So if we're talking about bass fishing, I'm going to throw this out there. The lake, Salapopka lake chain is Floral City, Inverness, and Hernando. Hernando has the slobs. They've got the big bass.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So if you're going bass fishing, you got to catch them in the Hernando lake chain.
That's cool.
Yep.
All right. So you want the big ones. Very cool. Do you have any biggest flex as a realtor? What would you be like your big, whoa, this is what I'm awesome at?
You know, I would probably just say I feel like a pretty darn good negotiator.
Cool.
Like I think at the end of the day,
I've worked with you on a bunch where you are very good at that.
Like
I'll give you that.
Just trying to get, and again, it's not always getting just the one side what we want, but again, becoming creative and making it work for all. I think that's sometimes a negotiation win.
Yep. The one that I actually just had a win on was furniture. Yeah. You know, this the buyer had something come up and they're like, oh, it's going to cost me this. And the seller thought, hey, is there any of this furniture you like? Because this is all high-end quality stuff. And they're like, yeah, we like this and this. They're like, you know what? We didn't want to move it anyway. You take this and then deal with the problem, whatever they found on your own after you buy the house. They're like, okay.
Right.
Because they were going to have to furnish that house anyway. Right. The seller's moving to a smaller house. They didn't need all the stuff.
Right.
They're probably going to try to donate or whatever. Yep. Yeah. So you got to think outside the box like that. I love it. Yep. Do you prefer listing like historic homes or modern build homes? Like, do you have like a preference? Like, or what's more fun?
Yeah, I was going to say, so I would say what's more interesting is definitely the older homes and whatnot, but they have their fair share of problems.
Because you have some Victorians over you.
Yeah. And I mean, I live in Floral City where we still have some cracker houses that don't have AC and the whole bit. And, you know, we've sold.
What defines a cracker house? Everybody says, I think I know what they look like. They're just like a little.
My definition is it only has 4 walls, like it is a rectangle or a square. So it doesn't have bump outs, things like that.
Right. Okay.
And then again, no central air, no central like anything like that. And basically a lot of times it's been turned into like a studio where it's all open. There's no interior walls and whatnot.
Okay.
And then
like
again,
no interior walls?
No, like no break. Yeah. Basically it's all one open room.
Okay.
And then the other thing I would say is build materials. Again, you get old Florida cracker house is going to be, whether it's a cypress wood or something, again, a natural wood that is actually found in Florida.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I know cypress like lasts forever. Too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like it's mold and rot proof and all that.
It lives in the water. It gets soaking wet and it still.
Yeah, and it doesn't get mold on it and stuff. It's like hypoallergenic.
Yeah.
Yeah. my big word for SAT word. There we go. All right. Favorite cheat meal on a crazy week? Is there anything that's like, damn, I wish I didn't eat that, but God, it was so good.
I'm a PB&J guy.
Okay, that's not really that bad though. A lot of weightlifters eat PB&Js.
Well,
yeah, and
okay, but I'm not a weightlifter.
That's true. Yeah, because it's quick, fast protein.
Yeah, well, and also, my grape jelly is slap full of sugar.
No,
the Jif peanut butter is slap full of sugar, and then also it's my guilty pleasure at 10 o'clock at night, right before I go to bed. All bad things.
Yeah, if you took the bread out, well, I mean, yeah, I love just raw peanut butter. Like, and I get the natural stuff, and I'll just sit there and scoop it out and eat it. It's wild.
Yeah, so mine's not natural. It's not good.
Okay, you're like Skippy.
It tastes amazing.
Yeah, Skippy or Peter Pan. Yeah. What's the most Florida thing that you've ever seen at a showing? Like total, like, Florida man type.
Yeah. So anything? I'm going back to, I literally showed, and this was maybe a couple months ago now. I showed a house that had, I think it was 13 or 14 airboats. And I didn't get the full story, but basically was told they are all owned by the seller. Huh. Why you need that many airboats? I'm not, and like not business purposes. Wasn't like a shop.
They all functioning?
Nope. They were definitely most of them were complete. Yeah, he was a tinkerer, but like on a Florida man level.
Yeah.
He was
there's another one for sale. I got to get it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
He just takes, part off of one, sticks it on the other, and puts it back when he's done, and just keeps doing that full rotation.
Weekend reset: boating, hiking, or a hammock, just chilling.
If I had to pick, hiking. 100%.
Hiking, yeah.
But hiking in Florida is, I was going to say. So that's my asterisk. Is hiking in Florida is not great.
Yeah, you got to go travel for that.
Yep.
I'm with you, bro. We're kind of wrapping up here. So is there anything else that you'd like to say about the business Citrus County to close this thing out, or anything that anything at all? Just like you want to wrap it up with?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would implore anybody watching, if they have any kind of questions, find a good resource. Scott, myself, anything like that we can help. Ask the questions that you have in your head. I always tell my agents, and I tell people, the only stupid question is the one you don't ask, and then down the road you're going to feel like an idiot for not asking it. Mm-hmm. That's the stupid part of it. So ask the questions, get the answers from trusted people in this industry, and they will absolutely help you out.
Absolutely. And the other one I would give as a suggestion for anybody who wants to be a real estate agent or be in lending is over communicate. Like, if they have to tell you, hey, I don't need you, you already sent me 3 different things with the same information, like a text, a phone call, and an email, then great, you did your job, because then there's no way for them to say you didn't tell me that. Right.
Yep.
Super over communication. But anyway, Wayne, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. I always love talking with you, man. You're always a wealth of knowledge. We'll have all Wayne's information and his company information on the video with the posts and everything for you guys if you ever want to connect with him or his team. So Scott Shannon from Neighborhood Loans out. Wayne with Century 21. See you guys. All right. Thank you.